Miami's my home. My casa, su casa. Miami's hot, 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 fire. Miami's hot, 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 fire. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another recap of the Real Housewives of Miami. Season 6, episode 8 is called Palm Beach Pandemonium. And before we get started, I do just kind of want to touch base on a couple things. So for those who have been on my channel since day one, thank you. It's meant a lot. It's been great, and hopefully whatever, if you do celebrate holidays, hopefully this is helping you out while, trying to get through the holidays, because I know it can be a rough time for me personally. I don't really love the holidays, but here we are. But also too, I just wanted to, say thank you. And I'm also not sure when the next time we're going to be having a Real Housewives review. I think Miami is still going to be on next Wednesday, and same thing with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But Potomac, for those who watch those reviews, that will not be back on until after in 2024. The beginning of 2024 is when that's going to resume. And then also too, the other thing I wanted to say, programming alert, is that I think I might add Real Housewives of Salt Lake City in for the following season, because even though I didn't review it, I watched it this season and I loved it. Like the way that franchise turned it around, it's been good. It's been good. I'm not going to lie. It's been good. So I might be adding that to the rotation of things I review, along with any other shows that might, call to me. And then also too, I'm also saying all this stuff now because for those who follow like my Get Fit With Me series, for those who know, I've actually pre-recorded all of that. So I got all that content done back in like November, because I had a dry month of November. Well, I did a whole entire detox November, so I just really focused on health, fitness, and wellness that whole entire month. So all the routines that you're seeing out there right now, I did back in November. So I just wanted to kind of be fully transparent on that. So that's why I'm like saying the happy holidays and all that, because this is probably going to be one of the few times you get me saying that. I also will be posting something, I think, on Christmas Day, so that for those who may not necessarily be doing anything on that day, and Christmas Day in the United States, the 25th. I'm not sure if I don't think that's everybody. So, but I am going to post something on Christmas Day. So look forward to that. It's going to be not as much of a review. It's going to be more of like a, positive vibes, because we all need that, especially during this time of the year. For those who are facing the winter months and the lack of sunlight, it gets to people, including me. So my way of doing my part is when I make other people happy, and this is going to sound, wow, that sounds pick me. That's not what I mean, but I meant when I, share my joy with others and I see the positive effects, it's reciprocated for me. Like, I like doing that. So anyway, enough with the pleasantries. Let's get to the review. This episode, it did pick up where it left off. And I'll just do a little bit of a mini review of where it was at. Because it literally just was right. They could have just kept this scene going. And then probably cut off the show. Anyway, I'm not going to get nitpicky. But anyway, how many times am I going to say anyway? They're at the croquet club. And Marisol gets that Google alert about Lisa and Lenny and, their divorce. Their pending divorce. And Lenny's now claiming that Lisa's trying to bleed him dry and is buying 10K is basically purchasing 10K's worth a month from Instacart. And the ladies are shocked. And Larsa she states she does believe it. And, they're going into all that. And then it picks up where Larsa is saying that Lisa needs to learn to manage her money better. Because that might be true. And, I mean, at least based off the show, it seems like that could be true. But anyway, so at this point, all the ladies have agreed. They're all in agreement. This is like one of the things that all the ladies who are at this croquet luncheon, because they're doing the lunch before they do the actual like activity, they all are kind of in agreement of this. And pretty much the ladies who are there is everyone minus Lisa, Dr. Nicole, and Adriana, because they're at Lisa's lab. They're at her job because Lisa is in the middle of trying to get perfume together through Aroma 360, and they're testing the scents to get the right components for her perfume. And so that's where they're at. But everyone else is here and they're talking about this. And they're all in agreement, even though even the people who don't necessarily get along are all in agreement with all this. And then Alexia, see, a tiger can never change its stripes. I think that's what the saying is. But my point is, Alexia is definitely trying to do a redemption season similar to the Erica Jane. So she's kind of like, because she had such a gnarly season last season, and the Twitter streets and the YouTube streets and the social media streets were eating her alive because she was just kind of unbearable last season. And a little bit of the unbearableness is peeking back out this episode. And it's kind of one of those things like, how long is she going to last in this redemption path? I think with Erica, in her case, and Erica, who I'm talking about, is from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I do the comparison when it comes to other reality shows a lot of times because I'm watching both. But with Erica, she's fully engaged on this redemption story because, like, her career kind of depends on it because she's actually, she's trying to be an entertainer. And you can't be a hated, it's not good to be a hated entertainer when you need people to come and pay for your show. Because she has a Las Vegas residency. So I think in Erica's case, she's sticking with the script no matter what. Like, she has more incentive to stick with the script. Alexia, and we'll see throughout the episode why I said that. But even in this scene, she's being very opinionated of how Lisa's handling things. But it's not, when everyone else is saying it, it comes off more as like concern. And I think Alexia really is concerned. It's just her tone and delivery has never been good. Like, it always comes off as super judgmental and not out of love. It comes off very judgy. And we'll see that take place later this episode as well. So, but they got to the subject of cars because they were really concerned and they were wondering, the cars that they got to the trip with, that they rode in, were those Lenny's cars. And then also the story that we heard during the opera show about Lenny was accusing Lisa of putting a tracking device on one of the cars. And so they have a lot of concern with that too. It's like, she shouldn't be driving any of his cars. And I do agree, she really shouldn't. But, and Gertie's like, why doesn't she just go to the lot and buy like a Toyota Corolla? Like, you don't need to have a Rolls Royce, which I agree. But Alexia's like, she's not going to do that. And that part's true too. They're in Miami, and also they're housewives. So you have two things that are going against you of wanting to keep up with the Joneses. And, even Gertie's like, you know what? You don't have to keep up with the Joneses though. Like, why? And I get and Gertie's right. She really is. But like, how many people in her position, I mean, and this is just me being truthful, would do that? Go the other way. Like, go all the way to the extreme of just managing your money real quick. I think she would do that if she didn't have the pressure of the show. And then also living in a flashy city like Miami. Because Miami's kind of, is kind of known for the glitz and the ambiance that you got it like that, whether you actually do or not. And of all the cities in Florida, that's the one that's kind of like, So, although Gertie was making good points with that, Alexia was also right. She's like, yeah, she's not going to do that. And then in the confessional, though, Alexia confesses that she's never purchased a car. All the men she's ever dated purchased her a car. And I'm just kind of like, this is going to play out later. This is why I'm mentioning it. So that's why I said that. So remember what I said there. And Julie just states that she felt weird that Lisa left her kids after that fight and the police were called to come to her event. And I think we said this in one of the previous recaps when that happened, that I felt weird about that too. If I didn't say it, I definitely meant to say it because it is odd. You should not be coming to that event after you have that much chaos at home and then the kids were involved in the chaos. Yeah. A check's not worth it. Because I know she was obligated. I mean, for those who don't realize, these events are on these shows. That's your time on the show that you're getting. That's airtime. That's a job. So when you go to these events, even though they're fun events, they can be, it's part of the job. So that's her potentially missing a paycheck to not come to that event. So I get what Julia's saying, but let's be real. She's already fighting for her life with the lack of finances as it is because she was, she was a kept woman. And it sounds like she didn't really do what a lot of unspoken rules of being a kept woman is that you do is you don't rely on that to always be what it is. Situations happen where you could just not be good anymore, just like what's happening with her. So you always stash some money on the side. You always do it. That's like law 101. But it's pretty clear Lisa did not do that, or if she did, she didn't really do much of that. Because she just kind of was delusional and thinking that this fantasy was going to last forever. And I have a friend who had a kind of a similar situation, or a former friend. I don't know what we are, and I kind of was looking at her the same way. So I was like, you got to put the money on the side. Like, you can't just go all in. And I don't know. For me, I'm a habitual preparing for what if, and I don't want to be dependent on someone so hard where if something was to happen to them, I'm just in trouble. I can't live that way. That's just me, though. That's just me. But I'm rambling. Let's get back to the rest of the scene. So basically, Julia clarifies further in her confessional about, the fact that Lisa left, the house after the cops were called to, then go to that event. And I'm explaining why, although she has a point, because of what it truly is housewife-wise, Lisa was going to do that. And it wasn't her being irresponsible, it's because she's literally, you're there for your kids in more than one way. You're there for your kids maternally, but you're also there for your kids financially. And so you kind of need both in order for this to work, right? So there's that. And it wasn't, so I don't, I get it, but it's going to come up later on, so that's why I'm kind of harping on it. So the ladies decide they should make a plan to basically have a friend intervention. They didn't call it that, but that's what it was. And hint, anytime someone decides to have a friend intervention, like ever, I've never seen one be ever successful. I'm just saying, I'm not even talking about just even on a TV show. I feel like even in real life, like a friend intervention just never goes well. It's just not going to go well. So you already know where this is going to go. That's why I said friend intervention. Even though they didn't use the words, that's pretty much what they're about to do. And Gertie first suggests that Larsa should be the one who says something. And then Larsa tries to say she already has tried this, which I believe Larsa, I think she has, but she's never tried it on camera. Which, maybe Larsa wasn't wrong about that. I'm giving you a lot of like hints of what's going to happen here. So then basically the ladies all vote and they just decide that it's going to be Julia who brings it up. And also too, in the confessional, Larsa does mention that she's concerned that Lisa is going from, Lenny to Jody and then relying on Jody. And this is the other thing that was kind of weird too, because you're hearing all these ladies' thoughts and opinions on how they feel about how Lisa's handling this and how she's doing. And I found it interesting that Alexia's opinion was still about relying on the man. But instead of relying on Lenny, now Jody. It wasn't quite that, because she was kind of like saying if her relationship with Jody's so good, he would get her a car, he would do this, he would do that. And like, how is that helpful? And she did kind of change her tune where the other ladies were just like, well, she shouldn't be relying on a man at all. Like, right. That's what got her in this mess. She needs to be independent and not dependent. That is what's gotten her in this mess. And so I did find that interesting in this scene. But anyway, they're done talking about it. And then basically after this, they finally do play croquet. And it's silly. It's funny. Kiki was the only one that scored. And when she scored, she was the, as usual, comedic relief. Running around, and she has her boob literally falls off her dress. It's like, and she's running around, and all these old men are just like, because at this country club, they're the youngest people there. Like this cast, are the youngest people there. I mean, every single one of them are younger than everyone else is there. Because the cast is diverse when it comes to the age groups. But yeah, no, they're clearly the youngest. And so they were joking and they were cussing so much while they were playing. It's just like, this is a country club. It was giving country club meets Ratchet. It was very Ratchet. and then even after Kiki did that, she was like, oh, I'm sorry. Because she didn't mean to do that. It just happened because she didn't have a bra on. And it was one of those dresses where all you gotta do is this, and it comes out if you don't have the right support. And basically, she was like, "I'm just too ghetto for this. I can't do it." Kiki cracks me up, and she's forever. I really want her to be full time because she just cracks me up. But anyway. So while all this is happening, Marisol and Alexia go to talk to each other, outside the group a little bit. And Marisol is venting about her frustration with Julia and the conversation that Julia had with her ex, the toxic ex. And Alexia is not being a good friend to Marisol. And I've said this in a couple of episodes that's the friendship is not equal. Marisol is a great friend to Alexia, but it's not the other way around. even though, let's be real here, and she's even owned it herself, Marisol is a pot stirrer. So, I mean, a lot of the reasons why they have the conflicts because she stirred the pot. But you need that on a reality TV show. So, I mean, I don't know what you expect here. Sorry, I made myself a latte. Actually, I technically made myself a white chocolate mocha. It's really, really good. But anyway, so Alexia is not being there for her. She's basically downplaying it, saying she's overreacting. She shouldn't feel away. And is pretty much taking Julia's side in the whole thing. And Marisol's frustrated with her on this. She's like, because I think we saw cracks of this happening during Ultimate Girls Trip and is continuing because they clearly haven't resolved that underlying issue of Marisol not really feeling that Alexia be there for her. And she even said in the confessional, she's like, I'm frustrated at bro. Because she calls her bro. She's like, I'm frustrated at bro. She just like doesn't hear me out. Like when others vent and have to say things, she listens to them. But when it's my turn, she doesn't hear me out. Like I really do believe Marisol, I think she really is truly hurt that Julia would talk to her ex because this is that toxic ex that they were talking about that was kind of the component. Well, it wasn't kind of. It was a component of Marisol and Adriana's falling out. So it's like you're continuing the conversation with him. And I feel, even though Marisol has done some mean things on this show, I do feel bad for her when it comes to this because the one person that you thought had your back, you're finding out she doesn't really have your back. So it almost kind of is giving me vibes that she might be getting left on the island, but I don't think that's going to be how this goes just because Marisol did patch up things with a couple other people on the show, so I think they'll be okay. But anyway, I think she'll be okay. But that's pretty much where the scene ends. It was a long first scene. This took up probably, I would say, a huge chunk of the show was this first scene. And it was just basically a continuation of the scene that ended last episode. But yeah. Okay, so next we have like a little mini montage. You're all back in Miami. Well, hold on. Sorry, I skipped ahead. They have a little mini montage though where Dr. Nicole FaceTimes Grace and her son. And then Lisa FaceTimes her kids to make sure everything's good there. And then Larsa FaceTimes Marcus, and says she misses him and whatnot. And then as they're getting ready for dinner, and this is going to be their last night at Palm Springs because they're really only there for the weekend and for Lisa's event that she, or Lisa's job thing that she had to do, and she's gotten that done. So this is like the last night. And Adriana and Julia meets up with Dr. Nicole and before the dinner. And by the way, Julia, this look with your hair slicked back and the suit, that's on point. I love that look on you. I love that look on you. It's similar, so it's black, so she had a black suit, like a suit thing going on. It's very similar to the cast picture that I've shown you here. Is very similar to that. I'll actually just probably post it right here so that you know what I'm talking about. And so it's very similar to this. Like, that's what she had on, and I was like, yes. Because all the other looks, I'm like, Julia, what are you wearing? Because although sometimes looks be nice, it's not appropriate for what they're doing, so it doesn't make sense. Even with the croquet, everyone else was kind of dressed country clubbish, and she was too, because they're all wearing white, but she wasn't dressed country clubbish. I'm sorry, no. She was dressed like she was she had like a summer dress on, but not like going to the country club. So I was like, I don't know where she thinks she's going. I'm so confused. But this outfit though, she was on point. But anyway, so Julia asked how the Roma 360 lab thing went with Lisa. And Dr. Nicole states that they were there basically to support her and hear her out and, you know, help her get through the whole things with Lenny. Because I think that she did share that Lisa did break down about why this is so important to her in relation to getting from, you know, Lenny's shadow. And Julia does state to her, to Dr. Nicole and them that, hey, we were talking about, you know, Lisa, and while you guys were like, you know, doing your thing, and I'm going to have a conversation with her about how she's handling things and whatnot. So the way Julia presented it right here, I was hoping that's what she was going to do, but that's not what she did quite. Yeah. I want to get to this thing so badly because this was crazy. But anyway, I'm not going to get right there yet. So the rest of the ladies are approaching. They're doing dinner outside of the house that they're at for the weekend. And it's gorgeous. They have a bar outside. It's giving awesomeness. And the ambiance is so cute. And then, so while this is happening, Julia asked to talk to Alexia. And, oh, by the way, when they're sitting down, Julia makes it a point to sit next to Alexia. And then Marisol shows up, and Marisol's like, are the seats assigned? And they're like, no. I don't know if anyone else caught the look that Marisol had, but she definitely felt away. Yeah. I'm kind of just wanting to see what's happening with this, because we've already been getting many breadcrumbs, and it's been happening throughout the season, that Julia is just going, she decided Marisol is a target, and she is just doing little things. And I feel like that's what's happening, because let's be real here. Julia, outside of her relationship with Martina, she really wasn't given anything. And also her being, you know, LGBTQIA plus community. Sorry. I'm in the community and I have a tough time saying that because it's just so many letters. I usually just say LGBTQ plus, but I know a lot of people don't like it when you leave out the I and A, so I don't want to do that. And the plus really is supposed to make it where it hits everybody, but I know the moderns, I just don't want to, as being part of it, I don't want to offend my own community. Just saying. But, so yeah, anyway. So after that, Julia and Alexia go to speak in the side, and Julia wasn't wasting time and asked about the Todd comment. Because as you guys know, Alexia just kept joking about the rooming together thing, that she's like, oh, I have to check with Todd. And Julia's like, so why did you have to do that? And she's like, it was a joke. And like the way Alexia looks so uncomfortable. I don't know if it was really a joke. I mean, it was a joke, but it was like, ooh. Because then Julia does state like, hey, it could just come off a certain way with you joking that way, because me being a lesbian woman, it could be taken that you were afraid that like I would want you or try to do something with you because I wanted to room with you. And she's like, I just want to make it clear, I'm just looking for a friendship. Like, but it could come across a certain way. And Alexia's like, it was a joke. It really was a joke. I did not mean it that way. She backpedaled super quickly. She did not want to be part of it. And in the confessional, Julia's like, she's so clearly uncomfortable with this conversation, which can be telling because you shouldn't be that uncomfortable if you really was doing that as a joke. But if you know Alexia's, if you know Alexia, and particularly one of her the son, Peter, and his antics and the way he uses certain offensive words freely, that came from somewhere. So there's that. So, but anyway, Julia does state in the confessional, like, I can either keep pushing harder or just move on. I'm going to move on. And I'm glad she did, because I was like, cool. You knew that wasn't the hill to die on. But to my surprise, I felt like that was a little bit of a test, because Alexia could have did her thing that she does and go off, because we know she can go to bro mode super quickly. She's called bro for a reason. She can just go there, just like start going off wherever, but she didn't do that. She was very apologetic and backpedaled super quickly out of that. And yeah, so that's pretty much all that happened there. And then let's get to the fireworks, because you already know this ended as a hot mess. I've given you all the hints in the world that this ended in a hot mess. Okay, so next. Lisa finally arrives, because everyone else is outside and has been outside for a little bit, and Lisa arrives. And side note, before I go more into this, I think I've said this in a review before, but I'm just going to say this because it gets on my nerves a little bit. Why is she always late? Lisa, how are you late for your own event and you were all in the same house? She's always late. And those who know me, not so much lately because my time management hasn't been the best, so I've been kind of keeping quiet on it because my time management has been trash past couple years since the world changed for a second. But pre the world changing, I was always earlier on time. And I think it's very rude to be late. Even though I lately have been guilty of it, and I always feel horrible whenever I am. I usually try to tell people that I'm going to be late, but she never tells people that. She just always is just late. And it's like, you don't have your kids or anything here to be late. I'm confused why she's always late. But anyway, mini rant. Let's go on here. But she finally shows up, and the ladies asked how the day went with her job, and she said, like, yeah, I'm going to have to go back in 2 weeks because I didn't love the scent and it needs to be perfect because, you know, this is my baby, and this is her first solo venture without Lenny, and this is like also like she has a lot of backing behind it, so she wants this to really do what it needs to do. And so she's coming back in 2 weeks to do this, to get the scent right. And then out of nowhere though, Adriana says that there's an alligator, and they scattered like roaches. They just scattered, and I'm not calling them that, but I mean they were just like, I can't think of another term how they dispersed. They were gone. And I mean, it was so funny though, because they all had like stilettos and they're all dressed really nice and stuff, and they took off. And me being someone who's not from Florida, I've never seen this before, but they explain, of course, in the confessional why they took off. They're like, no. If you see anything that might even look like an alligator in Florida, you run. You don't look to, no, you run. And I was like, wow. And they're like, yeah, because, you know, that's a thing in Florida. I wasn't even thinking about it because I've never been somewhere where like an alligator could just like walk up to you. And it turned out though, the alligator was in the water, but And so they're just like, girl. So it was totally a false alarm. And Dr. Nicole was joking. She's like, we need to take you down a couple of notches on your K. And K is for the treatment that they showed earlier that Adriana's doing. I don't know how YouTube is about that. So I was like, K. And so we need to take you down on that. It's like, but we did also find out in the confessional, apparently Adriana and Marisol, they're cordial with each other. It's pretty clear they're talking to each other. In this party, they had no problems. And then also, Marisol's like, I'm liking this calmer version of Adriana. And I will say this, there is definitely a difference in her mood. I think it is working. Wherever she's doing, I think it actually is absolutely working. And because last season, she just was so kind of unbearable, but it was a sad unbearable. You could tell she just wasn't okay. And even towards the beginning of this season, she really was not really okay. But even in her confessionals and stuff, she just has this light about her that she just seems like the happiness is coming back. Like her moods are being stabilized, like in the way it needs to be stabilized, which I'm not gonna like forget this. I still want to see more of the story of hers on that, because it's very relatable. It's so relatable. But anyway, so the ladies do get back to sitting down, and then Lisa's basically thanking everyone from coming, and then Kiki's like, thank you for inviting me. And I think that was Kiki's way of doing the olive branch, like, hey, thank you for inviting me. I do appreciate it. And then she, shares like, hey, the other night I was trying to come from a good place, but I am thank you that you invited me. And she's like, of course, I want everyone to be here. And Kiki's like, can we stay for another week or so? Like they wanted to stay another week, which I totally understood why. Because that place looked gorgeous. I would want to stay there. And I'm not even someone who wants to ever be in Florida. And it looked nice enough where I was like, maybe I'll visit Florida. So that was cool. And then Dr. Nicole states that because Lisa's been having, that we didn't know, and I guess I didn't know the timing of the filming of this, but when Lisa found out about the other woman and had the breakdown with the ladies last season, which led to the divorce and led to the hot mic moment and everything with Lenny, that all happened around May. I didn't know that. But I don't know why I didn't know that. Alexia is a Taurus. Her birthday would be in May. Well, April or May. So never mind. That does check out. That makes sense. But I got sidetracked. But the point is that happened on Mother's Day weekend. So as a result, Lisa hasn't really had a Mother's Day. Like, that's been great ever since, because she's been fighting for her life. So Dr. Nicole says she's going to throw a Mother's Day brunch so that Lisa has a redo. So that will be the next event for the next episode. So that's kind of giving you breadcrumbs of this is what we're going to be doing next. I love how Real Housewives shows do that. But anyway. So out of nowhere, after having the feel-good moments, they're saying all this great stuff, Julia decides to bring this whole entire thing up now. And also, too, before we get into that, Lisa said right before the dinner she doesn't want to talk about Lenny. Because she was trying to be respectful of the ladies, because she, I think, actually sat down and realized she was talking about Lenny too much, even herself. So she didn't want to talk about it. And now we're going to be talking right back about it because Julia decides this is the time to bring it up. In front of everyone. And I don't think that was what the group was saying. They wanted her to talk to her one-on-one. Not in front of everyone. So we already know where this is going to go, right? So she brings up Lisa coming to her event, her opera event, and how she felt awkward about it. She went right into that and said, like, and then you left your kids at home. And as a mother, and everyone is just like, because y'all already know, and I'm not even a mom, but I know if I start off a sentence of as a mother talking to another mom, it never translates well. It always, no matter how you're trying to deliver it, it's always going to come off like you're criticizing someone's motherhood. Which, even when she finished the sentence, I thought that's what it sounded like. I was like, oh no, now we're going after her mother, her being a good mom. At her event, at her dinner, and you're a guest. And then in the confessional, all the ladies had the reactions, but Marisol's, that she had the correct one. She's like, she is effing this up. I was like, there's no other way to describe it. She was messing it up because, number one, the timing. That was wrong timing. It was so bad. And Lisa's look on her face, you already knew it was about to be bad because Lisa did not look amused at all. She looked clearly visibly pissed, and I don't blame her because it was like, we were talking about positive things and you bring this up out of nowhere, because it did come off out of nowhere. And I've said this in multiple recaps. Every single time Julia has brought something up recently this season has been so out of nowhere. It's like she lacks tact or like a flow of conversation or reading the room. Something's missing there where she's not catching it. Like the timing wasn't timing. This was not the move. So then she basically says this. She says this, for like, she says, yeah, me and Alexia were talking about this. And then she basically cued Alexia in to save her. And Alexia ain't saving you. She doesn't know how to save you because Alexia is not the right person to have these type of conversations with. And it even was shared in the episode before that Lisa she likes Alexia, but from a distance. Because that was also the reason why Alexia wasn't invited to her lab event, because she's too opinionated and too judgmental. She said that about her before. And guess what Alexia led with? Judgment. And she just, talking, her normal fast self, just like, because she talks really fast. Alexia talks really fast, but she talks very harshly with her tone. And so it basically felt like she was getting, it felt like Lisa was getting attacked. And I don't think that's what they were trying to do. But it definitely came across as that. And I was like, yikes. What made it worse about Alexia chiming in also, because she also brought up another thing. So Alexia brought up the car situation, like whose car is that? And like, and also bringing up Jody and what Jody does. But before she brought up the car thing, she brought up Jody and what Jody does and all that. And just kind of questioning how happy or how great her relationship is with Jody throughout this whole entire situation. And Dr. Nicole in her confessional, she states, she's like, it's rich coming from Alexia how, she's basically questioning how Lisa is parenting. And if you were to do that to Alexia in reverse, it wouldn't be good. You would get bro. You would get full on bro with her. And then Julia chimes in yet again about Jody in the house. And then Alexia asks about the Instacart thing. And then Marisol chimes in about the Instacart thing, asking if like Lisa has a tapeworm. It would have been funny any other time, except for now we have 3 versus Lisa. You have 3 against 1 right now. Because it's not coming across, and I don't know where the ladies thought or how they thought that this was coming across like they were concerned. It comes across as they were attacking her. Or being interrogated. She used the word, she's like, I feel like I'm being interrogated right now. And I was like, and you are? I was just like, this is a full-on interrogation. It was not a, it was definitely not a, I love. We'll just say that. And then, so, because they're just coming way too high. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, Alexia then states that she was sitting down having lunch. They were sitting down having lunch at the croquet event, and then they got the Google alert about Lenny. And then that's when Lisa stops him right there. She's like, wait a minute. Now, yesterday, y'all all told me I talked too much about Lenny. And now today, you want information. Which one is it? And honestly, the way they're coming at her, just right then and there, I don't blame her for asking that question. Because I'm just like, now you're all up in my business and now you want to know more. When I was giving that to you for free, you didn't want to hear it. But I do have to get on you a little bit, Lisa. You weren't really giving them information necessarily. You were more or less venting. But true friends would recognize that you needed to vent. But at the same time, it was not in a way where it seemed like it was completely beneficial. Because you're almost you would just bring Lenny up out of nowhere and kill the mood. So I think in their defense, they were annoyed with it. And even I was annoyed and am annoyed with that. Like, why do you keep bringing this man up? But these ladies can't be asking for the information like that if you're not happy with that. So I kind of do agree with Lisa there. Like, if you don't want her to talk about Lenny and all that, then you should not be bringing him up either. You need to wait for her to bring it up. And then you can maybe have this type of a conversation. You know, don't do it out of nowhere. Because that's literally what Julia did. She brought this all up out of nowhere. So she pretty much did a similar thing in what Lisa has been doing. Only difference is Lisa, to her point, kind of has the right to do it because it's her life. That's not your life to be doing all this with. So I actually did really feel bad for Lisa with this because I was just like, dang, with friends like this, my God. And this whole entire time, Adriana's trying to kind of chime in to say, hey, she needs support. What are you guys doing? And then in her confessional, but they weren't really taking Adriana seriously because, you know, Adriana is like in chill mode saying it. But in her confessional, she's just like, this is not coming off like they care. They're not coming off as friends. I don't know where they think that this is what they think that they think they're coming off as friends, but it doesn't come off as that right now. They're just like, where's it? She's like, where's the empathy? And I was like, and that's what was missing. It was very interrogating, but no empathy behind it. And that's why I even mentioned Alexia would not be the right person to talk to Lisa about any of it because Alexia, and we saw it, we've been seeing it throughout all the seasons, and even when she was having her conversation with Marisol, she lacks empathy. The empathy is lacking, and so that's why whenever she's saying things, it comes off as like know-it-all and judgmental. It's very overly logically based with like no empathetic emotions behind it. And if you're going to give criticism or critique a situation, you gotta lead with some feelings in there. If you don't lead with some feelings in there, it just comes off like you're judging. And so Lisa pretty much just felt all the way attacked all the way around. And then the conversation about whose car they drove to get, who they rode in to get to Palm Springs. They were like, was that Lenny's car? And then, Lisa was like, are you in Todd's car? And, she threw in. And so they're not getting anywhere with Lisa, but they weren't going to because it came at her really wrong. So she basically starts deflecting. And the whole time, Larsa is on mute. And Gertie notices it the whole entire time because everyone else minus Kiki and Larsa are chiming in. Kiki was not going to chime in because we knew she wasn't going to chime in because she was not going to do it. And Larsa was not going to chime in because I really, really think Larsa, because number one, Lisa and Larsa are actually close friends, I guess, in real life. But number two, I think Larsa has enough common sense to know if you really are coming from a place of concern, you could have talked to her. You should have talked to her one-on-one and not in front of the whole entire group. Because everyone was just putting in their 2 cents and not really allowing Lisa to talk or really respond. So it really did come off as like a full-on interrogation. Yeah, but the whole scene was a mess. And it's like no one knew when to just stop and put a pin on it. Like there was as I was watching this and I saw it wasn't going anywhere, I just wish someone would have been there and be like, let's just put a pin in it. Let's stop. But no one did. To the point where Lisa eventually just walked away because they just kept doing it. And then it was just a mess because even Alexia was trying to be relatable and she did share something that was good, but the problem is you already, at this point when Alexia was sharing something that was relatable and trying to be consoling and helpful towards Lisa, y'all already asked her 10 questions at this point. So it just didn't, if you would have led with like how you feel for her, this, that, and this, and it wouldn't have came off that way, but it was just so like, oh gosh. But anyway, that is how that scene ended, and that was like, whew, it was a mess. Next, the ladies are back in Miami, and we have a little mini montage. We see Larsa and Marcus at her place working out. Then we see Julia with some goats at her farm. And then we see Gertie at home in bed talking to Russell, recapping the trip. And at this point, she's stating that she's pretty much planning on getting along with everyone, including Larsa, and states that she kind of apologized. Now, at first, I was like, wait a minute. But as the scene progresses, I understand why Gertie's taking that approach. Because y'all already know, we haven't talked about it for the past 2 or 3 episodes, which I am kind of annoyed by that. Side note, like, I get that Lisa's going through a lot, but like, Gertie has cancer, and that's a life or death situation. And I feel like they're not taking enough I feel like there should have been more of a conversation with that tied in with the group versus that. But maybe behind the scenes, though, I will say this, maybe this was like Gertie's choice that she didn't want to talk about that stuff and she really just wanted to have a girls' trip. Because I could see both sides. I could totally see that Gertie probably did not want to, at that point, to really talk much about it. because, it's still a fairly new diagnosis and she doesn't know what she's going to be getting herself into yet. So I could see that being the case. So that also might be the reason why it wasn't really talked about. It could have been her decision. And I feel like it probably was. And maybe I'm just being a little too giving them benefit of the doubt. But I think that really was the reason. But anyway. So, side note, during the argument, Gertie did say something about, the car situation. And no, not the car situation. She's like, she basically said to Lisa, you should be more open about what people are saying. And then Lisa deflected back on Gertie. And I felt a way about that. Lisa, watch it. You need to watch it. Like, stop it. You don't have an issue with Gertie, and you keep... I hate that she keeps saying that that Gertie is mad at her, this, that, and this, and because they never really did resolve that, and I did catch that. And I was like, now Lisa. Now I noticed Gertie just like let it go, because this scene does explain why though. But so next they basically talk about her and Russell, her husband Russell. They're talking about the next process regarding her health. She needs to go to radiation consultation, and then she has a surgery in the next couple weeks to get the tumor removed. And then the tumor will be then going to a lab, and then depending on what is happening with the tumor will determine whether she has to do chemo or not. And she says things are starting to feel real. She's starting to really, really come to terms with, yeah, I got cancer. And she breaks down, and I feel so bad for her. But this is why she's not, the Larsa thing is stupid in comparison. I mean, it's not, but she's fighting for her life. It is. It really is. Fighting for my life, dealing with this B over here. I'm going to choose to fight for my life, okay? And then we'll deal with that later. So that's definitely the approach that she's going with. And we also find out she's just overloaded. She feels just very, very overwhelmed because she's just been getting an information overload. And thank God she has, Russell, a very supportive husband who's there helping her out. Because with that day alone, she got 6 calls, all for different doctors and whatnot on what to do, because of all the different things that she has to go and and they're going to happen. And also, besides Russell, the universe has a weird way of doing things where it makes sense. You may question why, but it makes sense. Because the other thing I would say that Gertie's probably really, really thankful for is Martina and Julia. If Martina wouldn't have gotten that diagnosis yet again, but she fought it and got it done, she wouldn't really have anyone necessarily even on the show to go to about it that's been through it. So it's that part is awesome too. And hopefully we get to see more of that with the season. Because as much as the Lisa thing is captivating, I do want to see more of Gertie's journey and, what happens with that. It's going to be heart-wrenching. It's going to be hard to see, but as, everyone has had someone in their family that, has been impacted by cancer. So I would love to just see what that looks like. And, because I've never actually had it where it's been my immediate family. It's always been extended family for me. Minus my sister, but in that case, she caught it so early it wasn't a real thing. It was a real thing, don't get twisted, but it was not the same situation. So I do want to see more of this, and yeah, but thoughts and prayers for sure. Next, we have Dr. Nicole FaceTiming Anthony, her fiance, getting ready to meet Dad and his girlfriend. But the dad shows up and turns out she's not going to be meeting the girlfriend at all because he claims that she has some lumbar issues, like some sciatic nerve issues or something, and then Dr. Nicole's sighing and she's like, a 20-year-old having sciatic nerve issues. So yeah, it was a cute scene. It wasn't awkward at first. No worries, it got there. Because one thing we noticed was that throughout this scene, her dad kept going to the restroom, like a lot. And Dr. Nicole states like, is your prostate okay? Like, what's going on? And he's like, no, it's fine. It just happens when I drink a lot of club soda. And then out of nowhere, he's like, I want to have a kid. I want to have a couple kids. And mind you, her dad's in her 60s, like late 60s. I think he's 68. Or what was 68. And the reason why I'm saying is, and it shows at the very end of this episode, for those who don't know, her dad did pass away. Don't know the reason, but he did pass away. So I'm going to be saying was because unfortunately he's no longer with us. But this scene it went from being okay to being like kind of awkwardly wild. Awkwardly funny. Because it wasn't meant to be funny, but I was laughing. And maybe, I don't know what that says about me, but I was laughing because, I don't know. So, she's trying to figure out, like, you want to have kids, but, like, we're trying to have a kid. So, what is that going to look like? You get the kid before, so she's kind of just trying not to be critical of her dad's decisions. And, actually, I have an ex where this circumstance kind of happened. It actually did happen. And it was awkward. And the family was not happy. And my ex is Cuban also. So I just found it kind of funny. I was like, ooh, okay, what is happening? So yeah. Yeah, the dad wants to have a kid. And then she was like, so if you have this kid or 2 more kids, how many more kids does that make it? And he's like 8. He's like, when I tell you, Dr. Nicole found out on television how many siblings she has, and she didn't know how many siblings she had. This is a part I also laughed about because, yeah, I can relate. I'll just say that. I can relate. I was like, but not on national TV. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, she found out, and then because they're naming off the names of like all her siblings, but they're bleeping out some of the people because, we don't want people to know who her family or whatever is because they weren't on the show and they didn't sign a waiver and all that. But yeah, the whole point is, and so it's funny because of all the bleeps because they keep just talking about it, but they keep having to bleep. And like Dr. Nicole is trying so hard not to go off on her dad, and you could tell. But she's like, no, I feel like I'm handling this well because we had family counseling and we got through a lot of the stuff. And then, but then he took offense to how she said something. And so it still ended up not the best, but wasn't horrible. And the dinner ended up being awkward, but it was it was unintentionally funny. Because it probably should not be funny. But if you can't find humor in tragedy or humor in like just your parents as being people like you, I don't know. Life's too short. So, and but back to the rest in peace though. It is sad that she did find that out. So, I'm not going to go into when she found that out, because again, my focus is always just to review the show and show only. I know more detail about when she found it out because it was off the show. It was after the show was filmed and whatnot. Because also too, I'm not sure if the other news is going to be on the show, so I don't want to spoil anything. So there's that. So then the final scene of this episode is Lisa's taking the children to the dance studio, and we find out that her daughter, she wants to take her daughter to do ballet classes because her daughter's around 3 years old, and she had this cute ballerina tutu on. She looks so cute, and we find out that Lisa actually was in dance and ballet, and that's when she started when she was 3. And Lisa said this is her mini-me, and it definitely is her mini-me. She's so cute. And so they're getting ready to do that. And then as this is happening, as they're at the dance studio, Adriana FaceTimes Lisa back. Apparently, Lisa tried to call Adriana earlier on. And Lisa got more news when it comes to the whole Lenny situation. And this is why you shouldn't put certain things out there, because of this literal thing. So Lenny is just served her emotion to basically try to get full custody of the children and take the kids away, and basically claiming that she's an unfit mother. After that dinner happened, this is what happened. Yeah. And it's claiming that she abuses prescription drugs. And the drugs that she was naming or whatever is drugs for ADD. It is Adderall and some other things, and Klonopin. But Lisa has ADD. So she's actually supposed to take these things. She's not abusing it. And, but he's saying it in a way where it wouldn't be that. Because she also used the words, because, by the way, she didn't go into this that much in detail when she was on the phone, because the kids were literally right over there. They weren't that far away. And she did have the wherewithal to say, hey, I can't talk to you too much anymore about this because, like, my kids are right here and I have nowhere to go away to not talk to them, like to not say it. So then she went, so then Adriana was in the neighborhood and just drove directly to her. And then she went to Lisa's car to have the conversation with her about everything that happened. And then apparently Lenny, also in the motion, accused her of doing illegal drugs too, illegal substances. But yeah, so Adriana's is just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But then Adriana does state that she was disappointed how the ladies, came at her at the dinner. Like, it did not come across as being friends. Like, it came across something different. And I don't really disagree. And now, because we know that this was put out there, I guess for me, this is my thought with it. And what I mean by put out there is you really need to be careful about your words and what you say out loud, because words mean something, and words mean, like, in certain energy that you put out there, it's not good to do. You should not try your hardest not to put out bad energy, because energy doesn't die and it's transferable. So to me, it did not age well that shortly after you're questioning her motherhood, that Lenny is now trying to take full custody of her because of her motherhood. Anyway, that does conclude the episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. Miami is always on fire. Miami's is always I enjoyed watching this episode. It wasn't my favorite. I did not. It was probably my least favorite out of the season so far. But it was good. It was good. It was good. It was good. I'm just looking forward to episodes where it's not as Lenny and Lisa heavy, because I do need a break from it. Even though I do feel for her situation, I do need a break from it. And side note, I didn't mention this in the dinner scene where she was talking to the ladies before she went to full-on deflection mode. She did have some good points. It seems like Lisa really does have her head on her shoulders, and she's not as... I think Lisa feels away with how people were coming at her at this dinner, because it does come off that y'all think that she's really, really dumb. So I think that also didn't help. And Lisa did kind of rebut back, saying like, no, that's not what it is. There's just a lot of assumptions being made without talking to the source directly. And a lot of this probably could have been resolved if y'all all try to have a one-on-one conversation with her privately. Or not necessarily even privately. You probably could still do it with the cameras, but the one-on-one would have done all of you a service of your concerns. I think they're missing that Lisa does what she does when she's getting confronted with by the group. And it took me a while to even notice if that's what it was, but I think that's definitely what it is. It's more or less it's the confronting in a group setting versus having a conversation one-on-one. Because it seems like Adriana is getting a good footing with her on the situation, because she's not coming in the way of attacking. And same thing with even Dr. Nicole. Which is why she chose those people to come with her to like the lab. But anyway, that does conclude the review. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.